Yo guys, in this video, I want to talk to you about how we recruit great people into our business. If you're building a company, the ultimate goal is that you've actually built a business that gives you freedom. And the only way that that happens is if you have a team that's helping you run the business. If you don't have a team, that means you're doing everything. And if you're doing everything, that means you have built a great job, but you haven't built a business. The first thing that you've got to do when building a team is you've got to recruit great people. And this is where most people make their first mistake, is in their hiring and recruiting process. So in this video, we're gonna break down for you exactly how we recruit and hire every single person into our company. That should save you literally years of making mistakes on hiring people, because I know I made mistakes for years that if I had this video before I started, it would have saved me a lot of time. So let's jump right in. So our recruiting process has 7 key steps. The first step is we've got to create our offer. The second step is we've got to post our job to get a ton of applicants. The third step is we're going to screen all those applicants to make sure we're not wasting time with the wrong candidates. The fourth step is doing a phone call to the people that we think might be qualified. Step 5 is when we're actually doing an interview with the people that we liked on that phone call. Step 6 is where we're checking references. And then finally, step 7 is doing a final interview with the candidate to make your final decisions. So now in the rest of this video, we're gonna break down each of those steps with the most important things that you need to do each step of the way to help you end up with a great candidate at the end of your hiring process. So first, we're gonna look at your dream offer. And a dream offer that you make is the kind of offer that attracts your dream candidate. So there's 2 main steps that you need to take before you design your offer. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is write up who is your dream candidate for this position. So just imagine that someone called you up today, or a friend of yours said, hey, I've got a buddy who's looking for a job, and you just got on the phone with someone and it was literally a dream come true. This is the perfect person that you could ever ask for this job. Who is that person? Start to write down who that dream hire would be. What do they love? What are they passionate about? What kind of values do they have? What are they looking for? What experience do they have? And start to create what your dream candidate is. That's step 1. Once you've gotten that clear, the next step is gonna be to write out, what does that dream candidate want? See, if you're gonna go fishing, you need to put the bait in front of the fish that the fish is gonna take. And if we're going out there hunting for our dream candidates in our company, then we need to put the offer out there that is going to attract those dream candidates. And you can't design a perfect offer until you had designed the perfect candidate. So once we have the perfect candidate, then we design the perfect offer. And there's a handful of elements that go into designing your offer that you should consider. The first thing is obviously just the compensation. What's the salary? What's the commission? What's the bonus structure? That would also include what are any bonuses and incentives. Next, you want to consider, are we offering any benefits? This could be a company vehicle, it could be a health stipend, it could be health insurance, it could be a cell phone stipend, or it could be a fuel stipend. So some of these kind of benefits. The next thing would be culture. What kind of culture or work environment does your dream candidate want to work in? You want to consider growth and opportunities. Most A players, most high-performing people want to know that there is growth and opportunities available. So what growth and opportunities are you going to make available to your candidate? Another aspect of the role would be autonomy. So what kind of boss are you? Are you a micromanager, babysitter who's gonna be over their shoulder all the time? Or are you someone that's gonna really give trust and give autonomy to the person that you're hiring? Because I can tell you that most A players don't want to be babysat, they wanna be trusted, which brings us to the next thing, which is training and development. What kind of training and development opportunities are you gonna be providing to this person that you're bringing on? Really good people wanna make sure that they're going to be trained and supported. They're gonna have opportunities to continue to grow and develop themselves. So what kind of training and development are you going to include in this offer? And then finally, it would be like perks. What is it like to work at this company? So this is talking about, time off, taking vacation, flexibility of their work schedule, and even lifestyle, can they make their own schedule? So when we're putting together our offer, those are all the things. And what I'm always trying to do is literally offer people the best thing I possibly can for every one of those things, because that's what's ultimately gonna get me the best people. Making a great offer doesn't mean everyone who applies will be great, but if I don't make a great offer, the really great people won't apply. All right, so super important that you start by making a great offer. And once you've done that, now it's time to move on to step 2, which is crafting your job posting. So before you even write a job posting, one thing that I would recommend everybody does is you go on to a platform like Indeed, and you go on there as if you are a candidate looking for a job, and just look at what all the other job postings look like, see what the headlines are, what the compensation is, and even how the job postings are written. And if you're anything like me, when you go and look at that, it's pretty depressing. There's not really a lot of inspiring job postings out there. They all kind of look the same. It's kind of like a classified ad. It's very much like,
this is the job, this is what you do, this is your compensation, this is the requirements.
And it just feels dead, like there's no life or soul in those job postings. So the way that we like to write our job postings is we want to make them written for the person that we're trying to attract. So we write this to sell the job to the perfect person. All right, so this is the general structure of how we write our job postings. We start with an introduction. The introduction is really short. It's something like, hey, I'm Eric, I'm the CEO of the company, you'll be working directly with me. This position is really important in our company, and we really look forward to talking with you. And that's it for the intro. Really short and sweet, basically saying, I'm the owner, you're gonna work with me. Then we get into selling the candidate on the position. So the first part is we say, you should keep reading this job posting if, ... And then we put bullets, and the bullets are all the characteristics of our dream candidate. So right away, we're just calling that person out saying, hey, if you're motivated, if you want career growth opportunities, if you really love taking care of people and you're obsessed about customer service, and you just love painting, like you live and breathe painting, or whatever is on your list, that's what goes there, so that when the perfect person reads this, the very first thing they read is, oh, this is me. The next section is, what is it like to work with me? And this is where you're gonna weave in different elements of your dream offer. What is it like to work with me? What's the culture like? What's the lifestyle like? What's the flexibility like? You know, we say things like autonomy. You know, we're adults here. Like, we trust you to do your job and we're gonna do our job. We're not babysitters and we're not micromanagers. We'll say things like, we value lifestyle and work-life balance. We're not gonna ask you to work more hours than you need to work. We're actually gonna fight for you to have time with your family and do the other things that are important to you. When you work here, you're going to get training and development, like it or not, so I hope you like it. And so we keep going down the list of all the things that it's like to work here that also is a match for what my dream candidate is looking for. The next section is about the company. So now we want to transition into telling our candidate about the company. And this section of the job posting is written not for you to brag about your company, it's written to talk about the company in a way that my dream candidate wants to hear about the company. So what does my dream company want to know about the company they're about to apply to maybe? Well, they want to know what we value. They want to know what our success has been. They want to know how long we've been in business. They want to know about growth. They want to know about trajectory. They want to know about their future opportunities. So those are the kind of things that I want to highlight when I'm talking about my company that will attract my dream candidate. Right after that is when we say, we need you. You're the next person that we need for the next step in building our company and going where I said we're going. This is why we need you. This is what this role is about. This is how it fits in, and this is why it's such an important role. And if you do a really great job, this is what it's going to lead to. And then we say, so here's how your compensation plan works. And then we lay out the great compensation plan. And here we want to be fairly general. We don't want to get into too much detail. Say, look, here's your compensation range based on performance. Here's some benefits. Here's some perks. Here's, the things that you want to list at that stage. All right, so at this stage in the job posting, the entire post has been written to attract our dream candidate and the perfect person that we want to work here. So now we need to switch gears a little bit and we need to start to talk about what's required to work here. So now we're gonna say, okay, enough about us, here's what we're looking for from you. First, we're gonna go into a little bit more detail about the dream candidate, who we're looking for, what we're looking for. So those bullets up above at the very beginning, we're gonna probably go into a little bit more detail about that and really start to say like, you're motivated. This is what we mean. This is why we want someone who's motivated. You are really competitive. This is why we're looking for someone competitive. You are obsessed with paint. This is why we want someone who's obsessed with paint or whatever. Next, we're gonna go through responsibilities. What are the responsibilities of the job? This is where we get pretty specific. This is basically the responsibility of your job, what the job actually entails, and we wanna write that in a way that the dream candidate is like, cool, that's the job I'm looking for. I love sales, I love meeting with clients, I love new people every day. I love that it's nice and organized. I love that I don't have to generate my own leads or whatever. And then finally, we're gonna list anything else that's like required from you. You need to be able to work this, you need to have a car, you need to be able to, whatever other requirements you need to list. And then finally, we've gotten to the end of the job posting, and the end of the job posting is where we say, if you want to apply, here's how to apply. And we tell people always in our job posting, in order to apply, you have to submit a cover letter and a resume. We will get back with you within 48 hours if we feel like this is a good fit and we'd like to move on to the next step. We expect to get a lot of applicants for this position. So if you don't hear back from us within 48 hours, it means we didn't think this was a good fit for you in our company. And what that's going to do is that's going to set you up to save you a ton of time on the next step, screening, which we're going to get to in a minute. So the last thing that I'll mention on the job posting is we typically get most of our hires from either Indeed or ZipRecruiter. We post these job postings and we test a number of different headlines. So the job title itself should always include the name of the position, benefit. So it would be like sales rep, career growth opportunities and leadership, sales rep, autonomy and career growth, sales rep, bonuses and autonomy, bonuses and career growth. So you want to test different titles. Maybe instead of sales rep, it's sales lead. Maybe it's estimator. So you test different titles, and the format of the titles is always the name of the position, benefit, and then literally a plus sign, benefit, so that you're attracting different people. And then we can start to look at the reports on those sites, ZipRecruiter or Indeed, to see which of our posts are performing the best. The meat of the job post doesn't change, just the headline does, just the title, and that's what's getting people to click. And some will perform better than others, and you'll find that out pretty quickly. The goal of posting your job is to get 100 to 400 applicants. If you think about it, you want to get the best people. In order to get the best people, you need to have a big pool of people. If you only get 10 applicants and you hire the best person, they might be in the top 10 to 20% of people. But if you get 100 applicants and you hire the best one, you're getting someone in the top 1 to 3% of people. If you get 500 applicants and hire the best one, you get the picture. So the more applicants you can get, the better. So don't be shy about spending money and investing into hiring this person, because the more people you talk to and apply, the more selective you can be, the better person you get, and the better results they're gonna produce for your company over the long term. And it's a big difference hiring an A player. Next step is screening applicants. All right, so this is where you are going to go through this huge number of applicants you got, and this is one of the most valuable things I can offer you, where we save ourselves so much time. All right, so I'm gonna make this part really, really simple. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna check this every 2 days, because in your job posting, you promised that you would get back to people within 48 hours. So you wanna make sure that the good candidates you get to quickly. So the first step with screening applicants is you're gonna go through, and anyone who did not submit a cover letter, they did not follow instructions, you just delete. All right, that's the first sweep. You're gonna get rid of like 70 to 80% of people who applied, because 70 to 80% of people will not have submitted a cover letter. They literally just clicked apply and like shot off a resume. So what they're doing is they're doing a shotgun approach, and they didn't read your job post. They're just applying to a ton of stuff. So now you're down to 20 to 30% of people left. The second pass is you're gonna go through and you're gonna delete anyone that submitted a stock cover letter. And if you just read them, you can tell, because a stock cover letter doesn't mention anything about your company. It doesn't mention anything about the job post. It doesn't mention anything about why they're interested in the position or why they'd be a good fit for the position. All right, so then we're gonna delete everyone who submitted a stock cover letter. And now you're probably gonna be down to like your last 10% of applicants. And then the next step is you're gonna actually review those now, and just look at those top 10% of applicants and say, which ones really impress you the most? Who has relevant experience that you're impressed by? And then who has a really good cover letter that's like really well written that you're like excited to talk to? And there's usually gonna be 3%, 3 of the 10 are gonna be like standouts. And those are the first people you're gonna call. And then you're gonna test your gut, and you'll still call the other 7, but you just kind of know, like, I think these 3 are gonna be the best, and I think they're gonna be better than these 7, but let's test and let's call all of them in the next step. All right, so that's how we get through screening. That's how you're gonna really massively narrow this down to make sure that you're only talking to people who went out of their way to apply to your specific job, because they literally took the time to write a cover letter for this specific job. Those are the only people that we wanna be talking to in the next step. All right, so now we've got the first phone call. This is the first time that we're actually gonna get on the phone and talk to these potential applicants. You can text them and set up a time, you could email them and set up a time, or you could just straight up call them and set up a time, or you could call them and say, hey, you got about 15 to 20 minutes to talk right now. This phone call is not going to be very long. And the point of this phone call is to find out if this person is worth sitting down with for an hour and a half in an actual interview, whether that's in person or on Zoom. There's two things that we're really looking for in the phone call itself to determine, do they get to the next step? The first thing we're looking for is people who applied to this job specifically. I'm gonna ask them things like, why did you apply? What spoke to you about the job post? What are you really looking for? Why do you think this job is gonna be a good fit for you? And I want to hear people who are saying, dude, I have been looking for all these jobs. This one speaks to me because of this, like, I'm looking for someone who thinks that this job is a perfect fit for them. Because if this job is not a perfect fit for them, then there is a good chance that they are going to quit when they find a job that is a better fit for them. One of the most expensive mistakes that we can make in building our teams is attrition. It's hiring people and then losing people, then hiring people and then losing people. We want to hire people that stick with us, and the best way to do that is to make sure that we're getting people who are a perfect fit for the position. That's more important to me than how experienced someone is. If someone is more experienced but it's not their dream job, they're not gonna stick around. And then there's someone who's a little less experienced but it's their dream job, they're gonna stick around long enough to get really good at the position. So that's the first thing we're really looking for on this phone call. And the second thing that we're really looking for is, do I really love talking to this person? And this is gonna be a theme for the rest of the interview process is, do I really love talking to this person? Do I look forward to talking with them again? Because this is someone you're gonna be working with in your company. You will probably spend more time with this person than you will with your best friends. You're gonna spend more time with this person than almost anyone in your life, the fact that you work together. And one of the benefits to being a business owner is you have the opportunity to choose the people you work with. So choose wisely and choose someone that you truly love to work with so that your work is actually enjoyable. And if you don't love working with them, they're not gonna love working with you. And most likely that's gonna eventually lead to they're not working with your company anymore. So if they meet those two criteria, that this seems like a really good fit for them and they want this job and you really love talking to them, those are the most important things to set them up for the next step, which we set up as a 1.5 hour interview, either on Zoom or in person, just depending on the circumstance. All right, so the next step is the interview. The interview is an 1.5 hours, so there's a lot to it, but I wanna give you the most important pieces to the interview and the fundamental framework of the interview. So the interview is gonna be two parts. The first part, which is about probably 60 to 75% of the interview, is where you are interviewing them. And then the last 20 to 30% of the interview is where you are giving them information and answering questions for them, because hiring the right person means they're a perfect fit for you, but also you are a perfect fit for them. So this needs to go both ways throughout the interview process. So the first part of the interview, when you are interviewing them, it's almost all asking questions, asking clarifying questions, going into detail, and taking notes. And it's okay for there to be silence where you're just sitting there taking some notes down and thinking of your next question. I actually found that silence is really powerful because it creates an uncomfortable tension that actually makes people a little nervous, and it makes them actually want the position more because they feel like they're actually being evaluated, which is kind of uncomfortable for people and intimidating for people. And one of the mistakes I see rookie interviewers make is they try to fill the interview with like noise. And what I'm always doing is I'm actually taking the first hour to truly evaluate someone, and I'm asking a lot of questions, clarifying questions, and taking a lot of notes. So how do you prep the interview? And what are you actually asking questions about? So there's gonna be two sections on this blank piece of paper you're gonna have. The first section is gonna be like the characteristics you're looking for in the job. The second section is gonna be culture and values. So there's probably a few things that you really value at your company and are a fundamental part of your culture at your company. Those are what you put under values and culture. And then there's the characteristics you're looking for. So let's pretend you're doing a salesperson. For sales, you would be looking for someone's presentation. How do they present themselves? Do they have good eye contact? Do they sit up straight? Do they have a good handshake? Do they speak well? Do they listen well? You want to be evaluating someone on communication for sales. You want to be evaluating someone for ambition or competitiveness for sales. And finally, you want to be interviewing someone for sales experience itself, their beliefs on sales, their experience with sales. What do they do in this situation or that? So those would be what I'm actually asking questions about to evaluate them. And then if I'm hiring a project manager, I might be looking for organization. I'm looking for someone who is great with communication. I'm looking for someone who can handle high stress situations and actually thrives in that kind of situation. rather than gets beat up. So I've got my notes here, and these are all the things I'm evaluating about the candidate. And the questions that I'm always asking are questions about their past and their actual experience. What was that job like? What was that job like? What were the challenges there? Give me an example of this time. And I'm asking second and third questions. I'm asking them to say a little bit more about that. What else can you tell me about that? How did that happen? What was the result of that? What did you learn from that? All of our questions need to be past-based, not questions that they can bullshit about like, oh yeah, I really believe that. We need their past to demonstrate all these things on our sheet. And once we've gotten answers to all these things on our sheet, we can rate those answers a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then we get to the end of the interview and we'll determine if we want to move them forward. All right, so that's the first 75% of the interview is us asking them questions about their past to answer all of these criteria we have. And then we're gonna spend 25 or 30 minutes switching gears and saying, okay, now I wanna talk to you more about the job, the company, and what it's like to work here and give you a chance to ask me any questions. I'm gonna go through what does the actual job look like? What are they actually doing day to day, week to week? We're gonna go through their compensation plan, how much money they make, how often they get paid. We're gonna go through what their typical schedule looks like. We're gonna go through all the other perks and benefits of the job that really sells them on wanting to work here. But we're gonna get into more detail to make sure that's really clear with our candidate. All right, now we're at the end of the interview and we need to determine if we're gonna take the next steps. So here's how we determine if we're taking the next steps with this candidate. Number one, do I love talking to them and would I love to work with this person? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, did they score a 4 or a 5 rating on all of your criteria? And can that rating be backed up based on past performance? You might not have gotten to everything on your list, and that's okay, but as long as there are 4 or 5 on everything you've got to, you can move them forward and you'll just know that I still need to address these couple things before I make the final hire. And that's the most important fundamentals for doing your interview and how you actually conduct an interview to make sure you're screening people for the right character traits, the right culture fit, and do you actually like them? All right, now we're on to the next step after the interview, which is phone calls. And we do something a little bit unique at our company that you may not be able to do right away. If this is your first hire, you can't always do this, but we do references, but we do it both ways. So we give the candidate an opportunity to call a few different people on our team to talk to them about what is it like to work here? What do you like about working here? What do you not like about working here? What's the culture like? And whatever questions they would want to have about the people working at our company. This does two main things for us. First, it's another way to make sure that our candidate is certain about wanting to work here, and it backs up all the claims we've been making. We say, hey, we're this way. And then when our team starts to say, yeah, that's actually what it's like working here, it validates them in their decision to want to work here. But the other thing that we get to do is we get to then talk to our team and say, hey, how'd your conversation go with that person? Was it good? Was it bad? What are your concerns? Is there something I'm missing? And I can't tell you how many times our team has been right about we shouldn't have hired somebody. All right, so there's a lot of value that comes from them talking to people on our team. And then of course, we're calling their references. Now, quick tip on calling references. The candidate gets to choose who they give you as references. So if you get anything less than a glowing review from a reference, that is a red flag. It's not don't hire that person, but you do need to take that into consideration. Be like, okay, what concern does that bring up for me that I'm gonna need to address in the final interview? Or you might just now know, hey, if I hire this person, there is a risk of maybe they end up being this way. Or maybe that reference said, hey, they just, they tend to be disorganized with this and this. And you're like, okay, got it. That's not important for my job. Or you say, okay, got it. That's something I'm gonna need to work with them on. So it could be just good feedback and something to learn from and you still make the hire. Or it could be, wow, that was bad. I can't make this hire now. Like they bullshitted me. And sometimes what a reference says will illuminate some of your other concerns that maybe you didn't see. Because I have noticed that when people are recruiting and hiring, there's a bias for I want to hire someone. So I talk myself into hiring someone. I talk myself out of the concerns because I do want to make a hire. I want them to work out. I want them to be amazing, and I will talk myself into it. So that's the value of references going both ways. Super important step in the process to be really thorough because you're about to put a ton of time into training this person and working with this person. Now we've arrived at the final step, which is the final interview. There is a mini step in between where you're going to call them and say, hey, you talk to your phone list. I talk to your references. Do you have any other questions? Are you a 10 out of 10 for this position? you absolutely want to do it, cool. I'd like to set up a final interview with you, book the final interview. In the final interview, the purpose is to actually make a decision and make them an offer. At this stage, you should pretty much know that you're going to hire this person. Because if there were anything big enough to not hire them, you wouldn't bother doing the final interview. So then the purpose of the final interview is really, number one, to make sure that they are a 10 out of 10 for this position. So I literally start with that. Are you a 10 out of 10? Do you absolutely want to work here, and why? What did you talk to the people on the phone list about? What are you excited about working here? And I need to know that they have done their due diligence, that they are actually, in fact, a perfect fit for what we're offering. If they are, then the next step would be to address any other possible concerns I might have. Hey, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to bring this up. And this is less about interviewing, and it's more about addressing potential concerns and setting expectations. And I want to make sure that they don't have any other questions remaining. See, they can't be a 10 out of 10 if they still are wondering about their compensation, for example. All right, so I want to make sure that they have all their questions answered and they're a 10 out of 10. And then we can start to address my concerns that I might have, which is really just setting expectations. And then we get to the end of the interview and I basically make them an offer. Well, I don't have any other questions for you. I think you're awesome. My team loved talking to you. I'd love to offer you a position if you want to take it. And they say yes, and I say, congratulations, dude, welcome. And then we get to, the pressure's gone, and we shake and we laugh and we have fun and we chat. All right, and then we set up next steps. So that's how we do our whole hiring process from start to finish. And by the way, that final interview, sometimes I've done 15 minutes. I sit down, I'm like, are you a 10 out of 10? They say yes. I say why, they've got great answers. And I say, honestly, man, I have no other questions. I think you're gonna be awesome here. I'd love to offer you the job. And that was actually Ray, who was sitting right there, who works here, who still works here, who's amazing. But his final interview was, like 10 minutes. Because there's nothing else to address, and he was just a perfect fit for being here. So to wrap up, the people that you hire represent your business. The people that you hire, you will spend an enormous amount of time with. The people you hire will be building the business with you for the future to come. The people you hire is one of the most important decisions that you ever make as a business owner. The people you hire are going to be people you invest a tremendous amount of time into training in the coming weeks and into working with in the coming years. So you want to make sure that you're very, very thorough at this stage. Be patient, be diligent, follow this process all the way through, and I hope this helps you really elevate your ability to find great people to work in your business, because they are the future of your business, and this is truly how you build a business that gives you freedom, is you build a great team of great people. So that's all I got. I hope you got a ton out of this video. Drop me any comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.